In the bustling city of terraces, where homes were stacked upon one another like layers of a great cake, lived Elara in her fourth-floor apartment. It was not a palace, but it was a perch. Her windows were her greatest treasure, for they looked out over the tiled rooftops, the winding alleys, and the distant, shimmering river. From her height, she felt a quiet superiority, a sense of having risen above the street's dust and noise. Directly below, on the third floor, lived Scylla. Their homes were mirrors, one atop the other, but Scylla's life seemed to glow with a light Elara could not fathom. Scylla's laughter was a frequent melody that floated up through the floorboards. The scent of her spiced cakes and fragrant stews wafted through the shared stairwell, drawing friends and neighbors. Most of all, Scylla had Eris, a woodcarver whose love for her was as solid and warm as the oak he walked with. Elara, who wove beautiful but lonely tapestries, watched it all. She watched from her window as Eris kissed Scylla goodbye each morning. She listened to the gatherings below, the clinking of cups, the chorus of shared jokes. Her own silence grew heavier, her own rooms emptier. What began as observation cuddled, drop by drop, into a bitter, green jealousy. It festered in her heart, whispering, "Why should she have the warmth, while I, who am above her, have only the cold view?" One evening, as the golden light of sunset painted the city, Elara saw Eris present Scylla with a hand-carved songbird, its wings poised for flight. Scylla's joyful cry was a needle to Elara's soul. In that moment, the whisper became a roar. A wild, impossible thought took root: if I cannot have her life, I will not let her have mine beneath me. I will not be above this happiness that mocks me. I will bring my house down. The thought was madness, but jealousy is a madness that dresses itself in logic. Elara became consumed. She could not move her home through ordinary means, so she sought the extraordinary. She went to the oldest part of the city, to a narrow alley where a woman known only as the tinker sold curiosities and solutions to strange problems. The tinker's shop was a cave of shadows and dust. Elara confessed her desire, not speaking of jealousy but of a necessary repositioning. The tinker, her face like cracked leather, listened without judgment. From a drawer of black velvet, she produced a single, large amber pendant. Trapped within it was the fossilized, unblinking eye of some ancient creature. "This is the eye of Unmoving will," the tinker said, her voice a dry rustle. "Fix your desire upon a single, concrete task. Hold the eye, pour your will into it, and for one night, the object of your focus will obey your command as if it were weightless. But heed this, the will must be pure and focused only on the task. If doubt or another desire intrudes, the consequences are the price." Elara, her vision clouded by her envy, had only the promise. She paid with a lock of her hair and her most precious silver thimble. Clutching the warm amber, she felt a sinister power pose against her palm. She returned home, her purpose now armed with magic. That very night, under a moonless sky, Elara began her great work. She placed the amber eye on her heart and knelt before it. She stared into its golden depths, pouring all her bitterness, all her frustrated longing, all her jealous rage into one singular command: "My house, you will move down to the ground. You will sleep from this building and settle beside it." She felt a shudder deep in the bones of the building. A low groan echoed through the walls. To her astonishment, the great stones at the corner of her apartment began to shift. The mortar sighed out dust like a dying breath. With a terrifying, gradual motion, the entire fourth-floor structure, her rooms, her walls, her windows, began to separate from the main building. Elara worked tirelessly, a general commanding an impossible army. She would focus on a wall, and with the grinding of stone, it would inch downward. She guided her house down the side of the building like a slow, monstrous spider. Bricks from the severed connection rained into the alley. The building cried out in protest, but the magic held. All night, the terrible descent continued, a grotesque parody of ambition. As dawn tinged the sky with pale rose, Scylla was awakened not by sunlight, but by a rain of grit on her own windowsill. She looked out and her breath caught. Where Elara's apartment should have been, there was a raw, gaping wound in the building side. And there, halfway down, hanging precariously against the wall, was Elara's entire home, suspended in a cloud of dust. Elara! Scylla screamed, rushing out into the street. A small crowd gathered, pointing in horror and awe. Have you lost your mind? You'll be killed. The whole building could fall. Elara, sweat-streaked and wild-eyed, leaned out of her now crooked front window. Seeing Scylla's face, full of genuine fear, not envy, pierced the single-minded haze of her jealousy for a fleeting second. A doubt, sharp and cold, entered her mind. What have I done? In that instant, she broke the tinker's rule. Her will was no longer pure. The thought of Scylla's concern, the reality of the danger, the sheer scale of her folly, it all flooded in. The amber eye, sitting on her wobbling heart, cracked with a sound like a pistol shot. The magic snapped. The groaning ceased. The slow, magical slide stopped. But the house did not fall. It settled with a final, shuddering crunch, coming to rest not gently on the ground, but into it. The first floor was swallowed by the cobblestone street. The second floor now was where the first should be. Her old fourth-floor apartment sat awkwardly at what was now street level, but tilting grievously. Its windows cracked and its doors jammed shut. The building was saved, reinforced by the neighbors with great haste. But Elara's house was forever a monument to her jealousy. It could not be moved again. It was stuck, partially submerged, forever lower than it had been, and forever crooked. Scylla and Eris, along with the other displaced neighbors, were rehoused with kindness from the community. Elara, however, was left in her new, ground-level, tilted home. The beautiful view was gone, replaced by the dirty street. The laughter and smells from other homes now flowed around her isolated, sinking structure. She had achieved her mad goal. She was no longer above Scylla, but she had only succeeded in lowering herself.